Welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at Sid Meier's Civilization: A New Dawn. It's a 2 to 4 player asymmetrical area control civilization building game where you take the role of one of the most memorable civilizations of all time. And you're building cities, wonders, developing technology, and of course attacking other players or barbarians, trying to become the greatest civilization. Now, how do you do that and how do you win the game? Well, you have to complete one of the 2 winning conditions on each one of the 3 victory cards for that game. At the beginning of a round, if one of the civilizations has one of the winning conditions marked for each one of the 3 victory cards, they are considered the winner and the greatest civilization. Now that we know what the winning condition is, let's go ahead and take a look at the components, setup, and how a round or turn work in Sid Meier's Civilization: A New Dawn. Now let's look at the components. There are map tiles that make up the main game board. And then each player is going to get a leader card that has a special power and special setup. Next, each player is also going to get a focus bar, focus cards, diplomacy cards, capital city, regular cities, and caravan figures, control tokens, and their tech dial. Also, we have the event dial, regular diplomacy cards, victory cards, wonder cards, wonder token, barbarian direction, barbarian tokens, city-state tokens, water tokens, natural wonder tokens, trade tokens, resource tokens, and then lastly, 2 dice. Now let's look at the setup. We're setting this up for a 2-player game. The first step in setup is to select a leader and a player color. Step number 2 is to construct the focus bar cards. This can be done by looking at your leader, and under their setup, you know exactly which cards go in which spot. Step number 3 is to construct the main game board using your map tiles. If this is your first game, there is a beginner setup, and if you've played the game a few times, there is an advanced setup in the rule book. So we've set this up for the beginning first game, where each of our players puts their capital closest to them. Step number 4 is to populate the map, which means that you're going to take the tokens matching the icons on each tile and place them on those particular spots. Step number 5 is to place city-state cards that are matching the ones that you just placed on the map tiles. Step number 6, you are going to set the barbarian direction. This can be done at random from a random player. This will allow us to know where our barbarians will be moving when we roll a dice. Also, we are going to give one of the players the event dial, making sure to mark the helmet with the star. This particular player will be our first player to start the game. Step number 7, you want to separate your wonder cards by their particular color. In a 3-player game, you want to remove 1 ancient wonder from each color. And then in a 2-player game, you will want to remove a medieval wonder and an ancient wonder from each color. Once you've done that, we'll move on to step 8, which is to shuffle and stack our wonder cards. So when you're doing this, you are going to shuffle and put your modern wonders on the bottom. You will shuffle your medieval wonders and then put them on top of the modern wonders. And then you will shuffle your ancient wonders and then put them on the top. Once you've created your stack, you will flip over the top card of each stack and place them next to the board. Step 9 is to place your wonder tokens that match the wonders that you have in your stack next to your wonder cards. Step 10 is to draw 3 victory cards and put them next to the board. Remember that you are trying to complete one of the 2 conditions on each card, so the first person to do that at the beginning of a round wins the game. And step number 11 is to create a supply next to the board of all the remaining resources. Now let's look at how a round and turn work. Starting with the first player and going clockwise, we are going to take turns. A turn consists of 3 steps. You are going to choose one of your 5 cards. You are going to carry out the action on the card. And then you are going to reset the cards by putting the one you chose in slot 1 and sliding your cards to the right. Now it's important to remember the slot's number and type of terrain for that slot, because they'll be referenced on these cards when you're taking out the actions. If you end up collecting a resource through that action, this round resource here is a one-time resource, whereas the natural wonders are a once per turn resource. Also, cities are considered to be mature on the board when they have control tokens covering all the land around that city. Now let's take a look at the 5 types of focus cards you have available to you on your turn. The first type we're going to look at is the culture. These allow you to place control tokens down on the board, which can expand your territory and gain you resources. Next, we have the science cards, which allows you to advance technology and help develop new technology. When using this card, you're going to be moving your tech dial up, and when it reaches a Roman numeral, you will replace one of your cards that you have with that level of that particular card. Then the economy card that you see with the caravan. Now, those allow you to interact with city-states or rival cities by moving the caravan, which start from a capital or a mature city. When it reaches the city-state or rival city, there are 3 steps that take place. 1, you're going to put the caravan back on your economy card. 2, you're going to gain 2 trade tokens, where if it's a city-state, then it goes to that particular type that's on that city-state. If it is a rival, you can choose where those trade tokens go. And then step 3, you're going to take the diplomacy card. If it's a city-state, you're going to take the one matching. If it's a rival city, you're going to take one of their diplomacy cards. Next, we have industry, which you see starting with pottery. For this particular type, you can build cities or wonders. A city can be built on one of your control tokens on the board, but it can't be adjacent to one of your other cities. If you choose to build a wonder, you have to pay the wonder cost, which is in the bottom left corner of the wonder card, and that includes the production value based on the slot number, +1 if you have a trade token on this card, and then +2 per resource that you see in the bottom right corner of the wonder card. Once you do that and pay the cost, you can place that particular token that matches it underneath one of your cities and take that card. Last is the military, which starts out as masonry. For this one, you can reinforce or perform attacks. To reinforce, you simply take one of your control tokens and flip it over to the reinforced control token. This will help add bonuses to your cities as well as help in barbarian attacks. If a barbarian attacked a reinforced control token, it would flip back to just a control token and the barbarian would move back to the last spot it was on. If you decide to perform an attack, then you would compare the attacker value to the defense value. The attacker value is a die roll plus the slot number plus any bonuses you have. The defensive value is a die roll plus the type that is being attacked. If it's a city-state, then it would be 8. If it's a barbarian or a control token, then it is the terrain type. And if it's a control token, you can add any reinforced control tokens that are surrounding it. If it's a rival city, it's 2 times the terrain type plus any reinforced control tokens. If the defense wins, nothing happens. If the attacker wins, they get a bonus based on the target. City-states will give you a city as the bonus. Barbarians will give you a trade token as the bonus. A control token with a natural wonder will get you that natural wonder. A city will be replaced, and then a capital would give you 2 trade tokens. So turns will then go clockwise, and then at the end of each round, before the next round and first player takes their turn, the first player will move the event dial 1 position. If it lands on a helmet with an arrow, then they will roll the dice and advance our barbarians in that particular direction. If it lands on a resource, if it lands on a helmet with a star, then any defeated barbarians would respawn back at their original position. And if it lands on a trade, then any mature cities would produce 1 trade token that could be used anywhere for that particular player. Now, when a player completes one of the victory conditions on any of these cards, as soon as they do it, they can put one of their markers on it to let everyone know that they've completed that part. And then at the beginning of a round, if somebody has 1 condition on each one of these 3 cards completed, then they win the game and have the greatest civilization.